Hey guys, John here from Bring the SEO. Today I want to take a quick moment to talk about the importance of protecting your time. This is a conversation that came up last week with one of the students in the group, and his name is Ben, and he said to me, John, last week I had a client reach out to me. It actually wasn't even a paying client, it was a prospect. This is someone who he hadn't met before. Reached out, they're interested in signing up for SEO. They're in my niche. They asked me to come out to their office and sit down with them, essentially have a meeting, have a chat about the project. Now he said, I was kind of reluctant to do this because it was like a 2-hour drive, but I agreed to it anyway. I made the trip. I got stuck in traffic. I sat through this long meeting. I essentially lost, almost an entire day. And then 3 days later, they sent me an email to say, thanks, but no thanks, we're going in a different direction. Now, this is something that I've experienced myself personally, and it's something that is incredibly frustrating. Freelancers, independent, like soloists, independent consultants and contractors are probably more prone to this, where I'm sure if you've been in this position, you know exactly what it's like. I can't tell you how many times I've had prospects reach out and say, John, we're interested in working with you, but we want you to come into the office. And of course, okay, well, I agreed to this. I wish I hadn't. I set my alarm. I'm up at 5:30 in the morning. I've got to make a 2-hour trip to the other side of town. I've got to iron my shit, get stuck in traffic. I sit in amongst a boring meeting, answering questions that I could have quite easily have answered over a Zoom call. It's not so bad if you get the project, but when you don't, you think, shit, I've just lost all of that time. This is why, I've chosen to speak about it. Rule number one, you've got to protect your time. And I think in many cases, this in some ways should be, I don't want to say it's a red flag, but it's certainly something you need to be mindful of. I'm not really interested, and you shouldn't be either. You shouldn't be wasting your time dealing with prospects who value their time more so than yours. I used to say to clients, like, what do you want to cover in the meeting? They'd say, we want to, talk about this and that. And I'd say, great, let's do it on a call. So my advice when it comes to this, and this is something I'm very particular about, and again, for those of you that have experienced this, you know how just frustrating it can be because you waste all of this time. One thing that comes to mind, and I should probably mention this, I think people nowadays are less likely to want to meet face-to-face. Certainly when I first got started, I'm talking about the early 2000s or mid-2000s. This is pre-pandemic. It was different back then. It was more, and maybe it was just a case of there being more, old school. Maybe it was just more old school back then, but people in a lot of cases would often say to me, oh, John, we need you to come into the office. We want to talk about you we want to speak with you face to face. We want to talk about the project. And I used to always find myself agreeing to it reluctantly. And then, of course, almost always I'd end up losing that time. So the quick solution to this is just to say no and push all of your prospects through to a video conferencing call. There should be no reason as to why that isn't appropriate, unless, of course, there's some other special arrangement, or perhaps it's like $100,000 job, whatever it might be. And there will always be exceptions, I get that. But where possible, always push for a call. This should be part of your sales process. It's very important that you follow structure throughout your sales processes. I've worked with SEO consultants and agency owners that have sometimes get someone on a call, sometimes driving 2 hours for a meeting, sometimes sending messages through social media, sometimes email. It's an absolute shit show. So always, where possible, follow standardized procedures, get someone on a call. Now, for those of you who are thinking, wait a minute, I'm not good at saying no, I get that. I was never good at saying no too. It doesn't take too many times to find yourself in that position to where you build more confidence around saying no. But certainly for those of you who are more agreeable and you have a problem saying no, this is how I would answer the question. John, we need you to come into the office. We want to chat with you about this project. Look, Bob, I'm going to have to decline your offer to come into the office. As much as I'd like to, I've just found myself in the past, I've had my time wasted too many times. So from now, we push all of our initial calls through Zoom or a suitable alternative. So you're not necessarily saying, well, you are saying no, but you're giving them a reason why. Now, for those prospects, and I just want to be clear, I'm talking about prospects. These are people that you don't know, they haven't paid you. I'm not talking about clients that have just put $30,000 in your account. That's different. But certainly for someone that you don't know and an inquiry has come through, hey, we're interested in working with you, but we want you to drive 4 hours to come and sit with us in a meeting, then the answer should always be no. Now, I would go as far to say that if a prospect really pushes for it and says, well, if you're not coming in to meet us, then we're not going to work together, I'd be quite comfortable in saying, okay, that's fine, and passing it off. And now you might be thinking, wait a minute, John, that seems pretty reckless. Well, this revisits my whole thing around, dealing with lead scarcity. If you're in this position where you are, well, you've got no choice. I shouldn't say you are, but you've got no choice but to drive an hour and get stuck in traffic and deal with all of those headaches and stress and everything else, then you've got much bigger problems. Then you've got to solve the problem. You've got lead scarcity and you need to solve that problem. So protect your time. Don't be driving 2 hours to the other side of town. Learn to say no. Give the reason why. Push all of your prospects through a uniform sales process. Get them on a call. There should be no reason why you can't cover something on a video conferencing call, especially now, post-COVID. Most people are happy to jump on a call. All right, guys, hope you've enjoyed this one. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye. Hey, if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to learn more, head over to bringtheseo.com. We provide business development training for SEO consultants wanting to improve their processes, increase profits, and scale to $100,000 a month or more without all the stress and overwhelm.